I do a lot of thinking about how people respond to bad situations. As a rabbi, we see many different bad situations: illness, crimes, professional transitions, personal transitions, arguments between business partners, and fights between friends or relatives. We are witnesses to crises of faith and those confronting a lack of any faith. I consider it one of my greatest privileges to be invited into people's lives at these moments, not because I am going to solve these spiritual afflictions, but because I will stand alongside each person as we confront, explore, maybe even accept what is happening. These are the conversations that are not shared in sermons or during congregational gatherings. These discrete moments take place in my office or on walks together or in coffee shops. And each story is unique. When people assume that rabbis just sit around all week long thinking about what we're going to say Saturday morning, I assure you that Saturday is just the most public aspect of what we do. In these conversations, a question I frequently return to is, how much power do you want to cede to the other person to define your own sense of worth? It is an important question and one worthy of asking on the high holidays. The high holidays stir memories of important relationships which are now broken. A cousin who you stopped talking to for an offense that you can barely remember. A sibling's egregious wrong that split the family. Relationships are complicated. Long ago, I read a book by Viktor Frankl. Frankl was a Holocaust survivor and wrote an amazing book in 1946, just after the Shoah, Man's Search for Meaning. It is an important read. While his circumstances were unimaginable to us, he wrote this book applying his insights into human nature. He had seen man's raw nature in its greatest extremes of cruelty and evil, and also kindness. While derived from experiencing the worst of humanity, Frankl's lessons offer us direction in confronting our own bad situations. Frankl teaches, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, he writes, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. We may not be able to change our circumstances, but we can decide how we will respond. Confronted with difficulties large and small, we are the ones who dictate if we respond with meanness, pettiness, or other parts of our lower selves, or we can decide that we will respond with dignity and character. I often ask people I'm meeting with, when this moment of conflict is over, how do you want to look back on yourself? It's an important question. There is an enticing sweetness to writing that piercing email to that other person. A type of pleasure of having the last word, a schadenfreude experience of pleasure or joy or satisfaction that comes from learning of or witnessing the troubles and the failures or the humiliations of others. But who do we want to be in the end? Are you going to cede the power to the other person to make you transform, even momentarily, into someone you are not proud of? I want to tell you a light story which demonstrates our ability to decide how we will respond to a situation, even if we cannot change the circumstances. This is a story about Rabbi Jonah Rank, who currently serves a congregation in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's a lovely little shul, which Rebecca and I had the opportunity to visit years ago. I heard the story from Rabbi Jack Reamer. When Rabbi Rank was a rabbinical student, he spent a year studying in Jerusalem. Jonah came back from class one day and looked into his pocket, and he discovered that his wallet was gone. He lost his money, his credit cards, driver's license, insurance card, the whole bit. And he was sure that it had not fallen out and he realized that it must have been a victim of a crime. There are far worse crimes, but he still felt violated. So how did he respond? He wrote a letter which I think can teach us a lesson on how we can respond to circumstances far more complicated than this. He titled his open letter, "To Whoever Stole My Wallet." And let me read part of it. "Dear whoever stole my wallet, I was in my apartment when I realized that my wallet was gone. So the first thing I did was retrace my steps to see if maybe I dropped it somewhere on the way home. No such luck. Then I called my friends to whose home I was invited for dinner that night. There was no way I could go. I had no money for transportation, much less for the wine that I was supposed to bring. They were very nice about it and promised to deliver my dinner in the morning. They told me not to worry about the wine. They would certainly manage. And then I called some friends. They immediately offered to send me some food for the night. And after I ate, I prayed a messianic hope that all people in need of food will get the food that they need as quickly as I did." Jonah's letter went on to say, "I didn't pray this prayer because I believe it is possible. I prayed that prayer because I wished it were possible." Then my parents called in response to the email I had sent them. They told me that they had canceled the credit cards and new cards should arrive in a week. The people at the credit card companies were sympathetic, he wrote, and they promised that they would send the new cards as soon as they could. Jonah continued, "I have enough food for the next few days, and though I have no money, I do have a roof over my head. But most important, I have a loving and caring family and some good friends." The open letter continues, "I wonder if you have a loving and caring family and friends too, Mr. Thief. If not, I feel sorry for you. Honestly, except for you, Mr. Thief, all the people that I have met here in Jerusalem so far have been very friendly. But perhaps that's not fair for me to say about you. For all I know, you may be a nice guy too. Who knows? After all, I haven't met you, at least not face to face. For all I know, you may be homeless. For all I know, with the money you took from me, you may be able to buy yourself a whole bunch of decent meals. Or, for all I know, you may use the money to buy meals for starving children. Who can say for sure? It's hard for me to judge anyone, and perhaps this too is a messianic wish, that you will use my money for good purposes. I would like to believe that whatever you're doing with my wallet is greater than anything that I would have done with my wallet. I hope that you're feeding the hungry or paying for an expensive but necessary medical bill for yourself or for someone in your family, or that you're using my money to do some other good deeds. This is what I pray for, but I don't think it's very likely. It's because I don't think that it is very likely that I pray for it. And now, this is the most important thing I want to say to you, Mr. Thief. You can take my cards, and you can take my license, and you can take my cash, but you are not really as much of a thief as you think you are. You can take all the things away from me, but you cannot take away my optimism. You cannot take away my prayer, and you cannot take away from me the love and the care of my family and friends. Maybe you made me broke, but you didn't break me. I still stand with the strong support of countless people, my family and my friends, whose concern for me reminds me on a daily basis how rich I am just to be alive. With much gratitude for having good people in my life and for living in a wonderful world, sincerely yours, Jonah Rank. P.S. I enclosed my email address just in case you want to return my wallet. It's a lovely letter. I don't know if the thief ever read it or if the wallet was ever returned, but I know it was an unexpected response to a circumstance he could not change. Jonah was able to respond not from anger and spite, but from a deeper and richer place. And for that response, I am sure he looks back and feels good about his reaction. But let's be honest, though, it was just the inconvenience of a wallet. The issues in our lives might be far more acute. The lessons of Viktor Frankl and of Jonah Rank remain true. How we respond makes all the difference. Rabbi Harold Kushner was once asked by a woman what she should do with the anger that she felt towards her ex-husband. He said to her, "If you would not give him free rent in your house, then why do you give him free rent in your mind?" We control how we respond. We control how much spiritual space someone takes up within us, or as Kushner says, we decide who gets free rent in our minds and hearts. There is a cost for carrying hurt and anger within us. These emotions pull us down rather than make us buoyant. They narrow our sense of options rather than open new horizons. They burden us and seep into other relationships. So this is the lesson I want to bring as we begin the high holidays. Let's use this time to set aside the insults and injuries, the bruises and wounds, the scars and sores that we have accumulated during the past year. Let's leave them behind so that we are not weighed down by them. Let's focus on the good in our lives. Think of the friends and family you have. Think of who will come through for you. Rabbi Rank was rich because he knew what to focus on and what to be thankful for. That is the secret of being truly rich. I pray this will be a year in which none of us will be robbed of any of our possessions. But if it is a year in which you do lose some of your possessions, whether to a thief or to the economy or for some other reason, let it be a year in which you know what you still have. You have the ability to control how you respond. Further, let it be a year in which you will never forget what really counts in life. Let it be a year in which you choose the buoyant path rather than the path of short-term gotcha. This is a prayer precisely because I know it is not easy. It will require us to bring our best selves forward. And so my true hope is that when we get together on the other side of our difficulties, we will each be able to reflect back and be proud of how we responded. I pray we will be able to hold our heads high throughout the new year. Amen.